Today we are talking about the dark side of life. We are talking about secrets, aliases, disguises. We're talking about people who are not who they seem to be. I'm talking about real life here, real deception, not the plot of some crime novel. I'm talking about people who are liars, fakers, users, who will exploit their own loved ones to get what they want. Now, we're going to meet a woman who had everyone believing that she was dying and needed a kidney, and a man who's conned people into believing he was a priest. Now, Fred Brito spent years fabricating identities and falsifying resumes to obtain top-level six-figure salary positions with widely esteemed organizations. He claims he's been a symphony conductor and even a psychiatrist. Take a look.
A lot of people have called me many names. The Great Pretender, the Master of Deception. I think I've pulled off probably 70 cons, and they're all job-related. For instance, I was Executive Director of Development for the National Red Cross, Chief Development Director for the UCLA School of Medicine. I was the conductor of the Philharmonic. I've had to fake my way of life to survive. When I was 19, I met Paul Lynde. He was a comedian, obviously, who made Hollywood Squares what it was. He allowed me to live at his home, drive all the fancy cars, hang out with celebrities. It was an opportunity of a lifetime. And then when it was all taken away, I lost everything. It was so abrupt, it was so brutal. I had to continue living the lifestyle by renting cars that I would never return. I needed the props, and the props was the fancy cars. I've served a total of 11 years. A lot of those crimes have been related to grand theft of an auto. I got desperate. I was homeless. I had to apply for a job. Remember, there's that one box that says, check here if you've ever been convicted of a crime. Well, every time I checked that box, I would get a letter in the mail saying, sorry, but we've selected someone else. So I put together resumes that made me look better than I was. I mean, I had 3 masters and a PhD, all from a school that never existed. But yet, when they called the school to verify my education, guess what? Somebody actually answered the phone and verified the information. And that somebody was me. I had 4 cell phones, and every single one of those cell phones was a different area code. I've used a combination of 15 different names, and they're all something related to my real name. Fred Brito, Fred DeBrito, Federico Esparza, Federico Gomez. There was a time where I portrayed someone that made a huge and vital difference, and that person was Father Fred.
Receive God's blessing, Jean and Maria.
It was probably one of the best things I've ever done because I felt more at home being amongst those people. The last job I got through being dishonest was Executive Director of the Red Cross. I had just been hired for that role, and a week later Katrina happened. So we had to rev up our fundraising apparatus. We were able to raise $6 million. And then one of my coworkers, for some reason, started to Google my name. And I found out, hey, wait a minute, this guy is Fred Brito, con artist. I think that if you went back to any one of these organizations, they will tell you this: he was good at what he did. He was the best at what he did. The only problem with Fred is that he didn't tell the truth of who he was.
At this point, you say this is over in your life, and you want to help people understand how to spot a con man, how not to be duped by someone like yourself.
Right. For the last 5 years, I've not been convicted of any crime. And obviously in 2005 was when I did my last, I got employed at the Red Cross. But since that period of time, I've been actively working in my community, trying to make a difference, working with those people that have been released from prison, who are trying to find their way through life.
I understand, but the fact that you haven't been convicted of a crime in the last 5 years is not exactly a fabulous resume. I mean, right. You know, seriously, you know when you live this life that people are going to look at you. So how do you spot a con? You said you have some expertise in this that you want to share. So how do we spot you?
Well, a good con is one who is articulate, who is very charismatic, someone who looks straight in your eyes and is able to convince you that he's the best thing since applesauce.
Like you're doing now?
Exactly. And I think that what has allowed me to get these jobs is that people said, you know, Fred, it wasn't what you said on paper. It was how you presented yourself at the interview process. You came in, you were energetic, you were powerful, you were articulate. You looked like somebody who really we needed in our company. Yeah. The only part I didn't tell them was that the person I was portraying was not really who I was.
Yeah, that one little detail that you didn't go to medical school, you didn't have the training, you didn't have the expertise, that was the little fly in the ointment.
I'm not proud of what I did, but I had to do.
Oh, come on. Now, listen, let's be honest here. You are pretty proud of what you've done, right?
I won't use the word proud. I will say that I did some things that very few people are able to do or have done.
And you're kind of proud of pulling that off.
No, I'm not going to say I'm proud. I had to survive. And I had two choices. Either you go to work, either as who you really are and not get a job, or go out and invent yourself and become somebody else and earn a living, or go back to prison. And I wasn't about to go back to prison. That was the only choices I had.
So far. But I'm really curious about this. So look, did Fred go too far when he posed as Father Fred? Now, remember the couple you saw him marrying? Well, the angry bride and groom are here today. And they have a few things that they want to say to Fred. Well, today we're talking about liars, fakers, and cons. Now, Fred Brito is an ex-felon and self-proclaimed benevolent con man who admits he spent the last 30 years faking his way through life.
I can't look back to my wedding day like most women do. All I think about is that it was a big joke.
How could a church have a con artist priest?
We wanted to have a Catholic wedding. That was very important to us. And of course, we wanted a priest to conduct the wedding.
The church at that time said, we have a visiting priest, Father Fred, and he's from Mexico, and he will perform the ceremony for you. We both had confessions actually with him first.
I think that knowing that we told our confession to a criminal, it feels so violating. The next time that we saw Father Fred was at our wedding rehearsal. We really started to grow fond of him.
He played the role very well. I mean, everybody loved him.
Smile! At the time of the wedding, we were happy with Father Fred's performance.
Father was coming down, even shaking hands.
I didn't even notice that Father Fred was in front of me before I walked down the aisle.
The priest is always up waiting at the altar. And I thought, well, this is maybe the way they do it in Mexico. And I gave him a nice tip for the beautiful ceremony.
We discovered that Father Fred was the phony father when we returned from our honeymoon.
One of my buddies came up to me laughing, and my buddy said that the priest that performed our wedding ceremony was a con artist. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm waiting for the punchline, but there was no punchline.
I was in shock, and I started to cry immediately. I was devastated. What phony Fred did was not okay for us. He never apologized to us.
I would love to confront that Father Fred. He's victimized us. I don't think he realizes what he's done.
Well, that was Fred, his Father Fred, and bride Maria and groom Jean. They're here today. What'd you want to say?
Well, I would just like to say, I don't think that you realize how much you hurt us, because you call yourself the benevolent con, but benevolent means good, and what you did, there was no good in it. All it did was make a mockery of our wedding. We wanted to have a holy Catholic wedding. You made a mockery of our confessions. We told our confessions to a person that was not ordained by God. You made a mockery of us. And people come up to us on the street these days, and they just laugh at us.
You said during your confession, it felt more like you were talking to a fortune teller than a priest. What did you mean?
My first initial meeting with Father Fred was during my confession. And when I first walked in, I remembered it really well because he said, well, I went behind the curtain like a traditional confession is, And he said, I know that your last name begins with a D, and I know that you're getting married in a couple days. And I thought, well, that was really strange, but you don't question a priest. You just think, okay, that was an interesting confession.
Gene, what do you want to say?
Well, you've had a lot of time to get back to us and apologize, and figuring a con artist that you are, I figured you're not going to. No letter, no phone call. I guess that's what really hurts.
So what do you say to these people?
I'm glad that you allowed this to happen, because whether this happened or not, you have to know that I realize what I did to you was a horrible, horrible, immoral thing. And I have tried. There's a letter that's been written. They sent it back to me. I tried my best to get a hold of you folks, but they told me that I couldn't have any contact with you folks.
What's your point? I mean, is there an apology in there somewhere, or just a manipulation in validating that you're so proud of them for doing this? And I'm sure it makes such a difference to them to know that you're proud of them and validating their decision. That's great. I didn't hear one shred of remorse.
I was getting there. I mean, to me,
Why don't we put that up front?
that's true. That's right.
No, that's his gift to gab, and that's why he's here.
But see, Gene, the thing is, the word "I'm sorry" or the words that I feel, how I feel. I mean, I do feel terrible for what I did. I felt that way. If people asked me that question, they said, "What was the worst thing you've ever done?" And this was it. But you wouldn't allow me to apologize to you or to even talk with you.
You still haven't.
I have.
I mean, come on. This is your chance to.
I realize that.
Do you see the pain in this lady? See, one of the things that I know about sociopathic personalities, and maybe you are, maybe you're not, I don't know. I haven't diagnosed you. I'm not sure I'd have confidence in it if I did. But they're sorry when they get caught. They don't really have the ability to feel genuine remorse or to be empathic with someone else's pain. You violated these people. You have hurt them. She's telling you that. And you're giving a 4th of July speech. I mean, you really aren't sorry about it, are you?
As I said before, those words are so empty, Dr. Phil. Do you really think, Gene, you really think that if I said I'm sorry to you and your wife, that it would actually make a difference? Would it change anything? What I will tell you is that I have apologized.
It starts a healing process.
Gene, I apologize to both of you.
If my son does something and he says, "I'm sorry, Dad," which he did, I love him for that. It shows responsibility. I got a 4-year-old son now. Do I want to teach him to con too?
No.
Is that what you're trying to profess in this?
Well, he's right in the sense that just saying I'm sorry maybe isn't enough.
It isn't.
So we'd like to have another wedding. Would you like to write us a check for $10,000? We'd like to have a real wedding. I'd like all my friends to be there and to witness me having a real wedding with a real priest.
Let me take a break, and when we come back, we're going to let Fred answer that very legitimate question. Now, Fred says that he's a changed man, that he is no longer in the con game. But is his role as Honest Fred just another scam that he'll be bragging about later? I don't know. We'll see when we come back.
The riskiest con was when a friend of mine was arrested for marijuana possession. I walked into Superior Court as Dr. Mark Esparza, a psychiatrist. Here I am talking to the judge, just like Perry Mason would. And I'm pleading to the judge to allow my client to not serve time in prison, but to come into my custody. And the judge agrees with the idea.
Well, we're here with Fred, who is a self-confessed con. He is a convicted felon. He's done time. But he says that he's changed his way of life and hasn't had any criminal charges against him in the last 5 years, although 2 years ago, he scammed the Red Cross by taking a position with them here in the Southern California area. Maria and Gene are here. They got a bogus confession with Father Fred. They got a bogus wedding from Father Fred. And Maria said, "You're right. The words 'I'm sorry' are awful hollow, so why don't you step up and pay 10 grand for us to have a real wedding?" Fred?
In 2005, I wrote you both a letter, which never was to get delivered to you. And in that letter, it specifically says that I will return back to you, or I will give back to you the $10,000 for you to redo your wedding.
Okay,
and right in front of
how are we going to do that?
Right in front of DrPhil and this audience. That $10,000 will come back to you, and we're in the process of getting the book published, and the first $10,000 from that will go to you. And that's the promise that I make. I made that in 2005.
Okay, so don't you feel better? How about the $200 tip? Would you give them that back too?
I'll give everything back. And I think with that, I mean, like I said, I can only show how I am apologizing to you by not what I say to you today, but hopefully that you'll see as we move forward that I am trying my best to rebuild my life and try to be as honest as I possibly can, not only to other people, but in order to show you as well that maybe people do change. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, well, let's talk about that change, because if you have really made that transition, I want you to claim that. One of the things you said was that there was a, quote, book that I wrote called, Conversations with God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We Googled Conversations with God. There is a book entitled Conversations with God, but you didn't write it.
That's true. This is what I did with that book. It was a book that I created back in 1998, I believe, whatever it was. And it was a book that was already written called Conversations with God. And what I did is I edited that book into my own book, and I put the foreword and those things into it.
So you basically plagiarized that book?
Yes.
Okay, and these communications you were having with us were just a week or two ago. So you were conning us a couple of weeks ago when you said that you had written Conversations with God?
No, they never asked that question.
No, you volunteered that.
Right, I did. I said I wrote that book.
But you didn't.
I wrote the beginning part of it and the end of it. The in between is not. No.
You didn't write the book.
I did not write the book.
And you told us you did.
I told them I did, but I did not write all of the book. The first part and the end part were.
Did somebody slip up here and write stupid on my forehead? Are you kidding me? You didn't. Okay. You say that you really have turned the corner, and I would want you to have done that. You've said that you've actually started to try to give back, to make amends in society and community, and that you've started the National Nonviolent Ex-Offenders Legislative Lobby,
right.
The New Mexico Center for Justice and Advocacy,
Yes.
the Fred Brito Foundation,
Right.
the Fred Brito Trust, and Benevolent Con Corporation. I've had attorneys, private investigators, and court clerks, and there can anybody find one shred of legitimacy, existence, or any trail to any of these organizations except on your blog where you talk about them.
And that's right.
They're not filed, they don't exist.
They exist on my blog. In other words, when people contact the National Center for Nonviolent Legislative Lobby, it comes to my blog, and they ask specific questions on how a person who's coming out of prison, how can they find help and resources to help them to get a job and a place to live. And so what I try to do is I try to educate them that these are some of the things that we can do to help you make a difference, to change your life from where it was then to now.
Well, we're going to talk some more about this and some other interesting facts, F-A-C-T-S, facts, when we come back, and more from Maria and Jean as well. We'll be right back. Well, we're talking about liars, fakes, con artists, all types of people that just kind of make up fantasy worlds and then live in them. Now, I'm absolutely fascinated with Fred here, who, how you think you're doing? I ask you how to spot a con. You shared that with us. And then you wrote another check. You said, I've gone straight. I'm clean. I haven't got any criminal convictions for 5 years. Well, as it turns out, you did commit a crime, it would seem, within the last 5 years in defrauding the Red Cross here in Southern California, right? And you got fired for that.
It's not a crime. It's not a crime.
Okay, well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but it was wrong.
It was wrong.
It was wrong. It was fraud. I mean, you told them something that wasn't true, right?
That's true.
And you got found out, and then they fired you.
That's right.
Okay. And then you said, I've gone, so you hadn't gone straight for 5 years. That was the last thing we know about. You got a job now?
No, I don't.
Okay. But you have an agent.
I do.
And you're writing a book.
2 books.
Was that count the one you didn't write?
That counts the one I didn't write.
Okay. Are you going to sell that book?
Which one?
The one. Are you going to sell the book you didn't write?
No,
Conversations with God?
That's an old book that's passed.
You've given it up in the last week.
Probably the last 15 minutes.
Okay. Is this kind of a thing where you kind of see yourself as that Leonardo DiCaprio character? What was it, Abagnale, that did all of this stuff? You actually mentioned him when we were interviewing you.
I mentioned him because there is similar things that we both have done. Frank Abagnale cashed a bunch of checks, impersonated a lot of different people, but he took money from people. Whereas the difference between me is that I had all of these jobs. I did great work while I was in these jobs, but never stole a penny. I had access to
You took
huge
money under
amounts of
false
money.
pretenses.
I got a job. No, I'll differ with you on that one. I worked those jobs. I earned a living.
When you go in and say you're a psychiatrist and you know a few buzzwords and you render care, that's not earning your money. You showed up every day. That's different. I'm sorry. You're not being honest with yourself. Right?
Right.
And then your second book is How to Catch a Con. Is that
Right.
like one page? Go on the DrPhil show? Well, you're not being honest, Fred. If you want to be honest, be honest. I mean, listen, the fact that you're a nice guy, and you probably are, that doesn't mean that you're not victimizing people when you do that. Does it? Do you think they're victimized?
There's no question they're victimized.
But yet, do you...
Dr. Phil, what you're missing is this. You're missing the fact is that I have tried my best to get a hold of this family.
If you're
All of
being
these
straight, why did you lie about writing Conversations with God when you were talking to my staff? We do our homework, and they were on that like a duck on a June bug in 5 minutes. But yet, if you're going straight, if this is the era of honest Fred, why did you lie to my staff?
And I'll tell you one more time. I did not lie to your staff.
Can you read that highlighted part right there from what you provided us? Just read the highlighted part.
You know, it's very easy to take things out of context. Dr. Phil.
Well, take it out of context for me.
It says, book that I wrote called Conversations with God. You know, but one of the things about... one of the things that I think that you're attempting to do, and which I think you have every right to do, is that you're focusing on all the things that was my past. It's not what I'm focusing on today.
No. This was not your past. This was now.
That was my past, period.
That's why I'm focusing on this and not your past. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, my friend. I have a list here going back to 1974 of your past that I haven't touched on because I just think it's irrelevant. I got conviction after conviction, charge after charge, all of this stuff. Have I said one word about any of that?
No.
And that's not very becoming stuff, is it?
No.
And I haven't said a word about it, so don't talk to me about being unfair.
I won't talk to you about being unfair, but I will ask you to be fair and balanced. You have to be balanced. The scales are lopsided, Dr. Phil.
Okay, balance them up for me. The floor is yours. You have 2 minutes.
I'll say it in one. Basically, every single week, 76,000 inmates are released from prison every single week. And when they come out of prison, as they're leaving that prison, they're seeing that prison they're leaving, and they're saying, I hope I never come back. But when they enter the real world of reality, going out to find a job and a place to live, society continues to slam the door in their face and won't allow them to get a job. And what I'm trying to say is that I was honest at the very beginning. I went out and got a job as a box boy or a janitor or whatever, and every time I applied for these jobs, I could not get hired. So I had no choice. And I refused to be on welfare, and I refused to go back to prison. Somehow, I was going to pick myself off the corner of 7th Street and Broadway, where I was living on homeless, and I said, nobody's going to pick me up but Fred. And so I picked myself up, wrong as it was, Dr. Phil, wrong as it was. But I picked myself up, and I did what I could do to change my life.
You said nothing new that you haven't already said today.
I put my spin on it, though.
No, you said those very things. When you watch this, you'll see that you've already said all of those things. Is your plan now to continue your work with your foundations and your trusts and all of that to help these prisoners?
That's the real reason why I came on this show, was to talk about the past, but also talking about what is Fred doing now with these organizations that I've created that are right now in their infancy. They're working, but I don't have the monies enough to create these big giant websites to make it official. But they are in practice.
Well, let me tell you what Phil's going to do about these. I just thought I'd join you in talking about myself in the third person. Are you gonna fund these? Yes. You're gonna fund these with the book sales.
Every single dollar that I raise from selling my books is going to go right back into servicing my community.
If you get either of those books published, I'll have you back on here, and you can hold that book up with your name on it and say, this is real, this is right, and I wrote this book. So if you get either of these two books published that you're talking about doing, then we'll come right back here and talk about those books.
Is that a promise?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right, next, we're going to talk to a woman who lied about needing a kidney. You're going to be shocked at how far she went to make her story believable. We'll be right back. Well, today we're talking about people who lie and fake their way through life. Now, our next guest, Linda, which is not her real name for a variety of reasons, admits that she lied about needing a kidney. Now, she even intentionally lost a bunch of weight, wore a dialysis tube, all to make her made-up illness more convincing. Take a look.
It's important for me to be in disguise. I'm a pathological liar, a total con. I pretend to be sick. I told people that I needed a kidney transplant, and I didn't. I told my friend at my job that I was sick. I taped a dialysis tube to my chest. A year and a half later, she still believed that I was waiting for a kidney transplant. She was willing to actually give me her kidney. It's scary. Living a lie comes very easy to me. Taking medications to make myself throw up, changing my makeup to make my skin pale, intentionally losing 50 pounds to make myself look exceptionally sick. I've been able to, over the years, convince world-renowned medical professionals that I need a kidney transplant. Lying to very intelligent people who should know better makes you feel very smart. 2 weeks into my last job, the doctor who I shared an office with asked me why I didn't go to medical school. I quickly replied, well, actually, I went for 2 years and quit. As a result of that lie, I actually got a promotion. I ended up getting published in local, national, and worldwide journals. I was successful yet again. The doctor was very caring and compassionate. I became very close with his wife. I was a part of their family. I was able to make them believe I was on dialysis, that I was throwing up regularly, that I was going to the transplant center. They were extremely supportive of me. They cleaned up after me, they brought me food, they drove me to work. That family doesn't know that I don't need a kidney to this day. The shame always haunts me. Living a lie is completely exhausting, physically and mentally. It's torturous. It's been about 5 months since I've lied, but I feel like it's just a matter of time. I don't know how to get out of this cycle.
So what was your payoff? What did you get out of this?
I got love. People cared for me.
Did you ever feel guilty about it?
Always guilty. Always guilty, always ashamed, always scared.
But you continued to do it anyway.
There were times that I stopped for weeks on end.
Well, the way you stop is you
again.
call people and say, I know you've been helping me and supporting me and doing all these things for me, and I need to tell you that I've lied to you. You never did that. You said on the tape that some of these people don't even know to this day that you don't need a kidney.
That's true.
You're still on their prayer list. You're still, they're still hoping against hope that you get some help.
Yes.
So what's your theory? Why do you think you lie?
I'm seriously messed up. It's my theory. I have no idea.
You faked doctor's appointment. You got a spoof card to fake caller ID, right?
Mm-hmm. I did.
That's a card that changes what comes up from your phone?
Yep.
So it would say Mayo Clinic?
Correct. I was calling them from my house, and it would pop up on their caller ID that I was calling them from the Mayo Clinic.
Okay. You taped a dialysis catheter to your chest?
Yes.
Lied about surgeries, made yourself throw up. You lost a lot of weight. You would take sleeping pills and then walk around so you looked lethargic and out of it.
Yes.
And you spent probably 20 grand to fake this illness, to create this fantasy.
Approximately.
Why do you want to stop it now?
Because I hate doing it when I'm doing it. I hate every second of it, but I just seem to do it.
Well, but you said you did it for love. You say you hated every minute of it, but it had to feel good. I mean, people do what works. This was working for you at some level.
It worked, but it's not real love because it's not based on the truth.
Well, all right, we're going to take a break. I mean, is Linda serious about getting help, or is this just another lie? I mean, are we changing diseases here? Well, it's not a kidney. I'm just like a pathological liar, and I just need help with that. Please, please care about me, help me. Or is she sincere? The people we're talking to today, you just never know. We'll be right back.
I thrive on the chaos of the lie. Being able to con people provides you with greater self-esteem. At the same time, I get rewarded with feelings that people care about me and love me.
Ever tell a little white lie just to get some sympathy? Well, we're back with Linda, who says she totally made up a life-threatening disease just for a little attention. Now, this isn't the only time you've ever done this, right?
No.
I mean, you've lied all your life.
Since high school.
Yeah, you told people you had toes amputated when you'd really just hurt your foot.
Correct.
Bronchitis becomes pneumonia. You lied about going to medical school.
Yep.
What do you think this is doing to your life?
It's making me not live. I'm in this isolated bubble all the time.
How do you feel about you?
I hate myself.
Do you think you're boring? The real you is boring?
I'm probably boring, but I I think I'm evil. More than I think I'm boring, I think that I'm just a terrible person.
Why do you think you're evil?
Because I hurt people and manipulate them into liking me and caring about me.
If I made some resources available to you, would you avail yourself of them?
I would run to them.
Pardon me?
I would run to them.
Well, I may be wrong, but I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make those resources available to you. And try to make some help available to you to see if you, in fact, avail yourself of it. And if you do, you do. And if you don't, you jerk them around, you lie to them, you don't show up, going to drop you like a 100-pound rock. So the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.